I lost a lot of this video and I decided to go ahead with it. So look in the description box and you'll see everything that I put in these jars because I have chicken stew and curry chicken in separate jars. So I wanted to let you know, I apologize, but a whole lot of footage was gone where I was actually mixing things up and preparing them. Okay, this is the chicken stew. I've got it packed and I think I want to get something to protect the surface. And I'm going to get, it's pretty hot, but like I said, we're not going to shock these jars with boiling hot. This is my chicken broth. Got my ladle ready and I got my little wiping up towel because I'm a messy cook and I'm a messy canner. And believe me, after I make this video, I'll have to wash things down. I'll have to put some stuff in laundry, I'll have to wash things down, and I'll have to probably wash me down. This is the chicken broth that I made last night. Look at that rich golden. And if I have some left over, I'm gonna freeze it in like solo cups and then put them in the freezer. And when I want some chicken broth, I don't just have to use my home canned. I may have a little more than that than I need. I gotta check headspace and I'll explain that to you. But there's videos that are better than mine when it comes to how to can. But I'll always follow the good protocols or the good basic ways of doing stuff. What the USDA and what Ball just seems to be like on top of this stuff. Now I'll debubble it, which means you're getting rid of any little bubbles that are down in there. And when I do that, sometimes you need to add more. You need to add more broth because it'll make room for it. The little bubbles don't need to be there. They're not your friend because we want to keep this really, really very safe. And don't be afraid of canning. Just always follow what the guidelines say with that. I'm not trying to push any guidelines on you. I'm just saying when it comes to canning, follow those guidelines. Oh, this broth smells delicious. I could drink this stuff. And you know what? It would be good for you too. Okay, I'm going to just load one more. I'm going to load one of the others. I'll debubble and show you that. And then I'm going to load one of the chicken curries just to let you know what that's like. Okay, so as I push this down, it lets any bubbles that are trapped in there come to the surface. Now, you don't want to can more than to this, or you don't want to fill, more than to this first line on your jar, because that line right there, if you get it any deeper than that, what's going to happen is it's going to do what's called siphoning, and it can cause your jars, especially with some fat, like there's still some fat in this broth. Not a lot. Like I said, I strained it off and kept it in the fridge overnight, a cold fridge I have. Oh, this smells good. Just gives me an idea what's this going to taste like when it's time. So these are doing good. They're staying about the amount they need as far as the fluid. You don't want the siphoning, as I said, because if you do that, siphoning just means the fluid during that pressuring will come out into your jar and you'll be able to smell what you're cooking or pressure canning. Just a dab more in this one. Just want it up to that first little ridge right here. That's it. All right, those are ready. The only thing I have to do with these now is wipe down the lids with vinegar water to get any fat or anything on them, any little thing that's there. And we're going to move on to this one. This is fine. It's not that warm. I'll set it there. I'm really excited about this one, I'll be honest with you. I'm very excited about what's this going to be like. I love Indian food. And I do make curry chicken, but I've not made it in a long time. with the raisins in it is exciting for me for some reason. It's like, yay, that's going to be good. And my oldest son just loves tikka masala. So when I have that, it's usually some that I have bought and serve. And here's another jar. Yeah, I think I may have just exactly what I thought. Now, when this gets going, I'll explain some things to you whenever I get it in them in the canner. I want to be sure that not everyone's got all the chicken in it or all the potatoes. I think now pints would be 75 minutes of pressure canning. And that's once you've started the countdown of the pressure, which I'll explain. But if you're using quarts as I am, you're going to need 90 minutes. And last year when I hadn't canned in a long time. And when I started canning again, I sat in the kitchen with the canner. And I just sat there with it and just watched it. So I'm going to make a pint. I got enough left for a pint. And I want it to have, and so this means this is going to be a dinner for me one night. And maybe, you know, it might be 2 nights, or maybe it's a lunch and a dinner. So some of this is going to have to get shared with these over here. So let me do this. Yeah, that's just about perfect. And then there's just a little left. There's some tomato juice in the bottom here that I don't want. Now, did I say this recipe calls for tomato paste, which I didn't have. And I do have some dehydrated tomatoes. I dehydrated last year, but I decided not to grind them up. I could have ground them up and gone through all that. But today's going to be a busy day for me. My days start out real busy. And usually by evening, I'm kind of wound down. I don't want to attribute anything to age, but you know, it's logical, right? It's just logical. When I look out my kitchen window, I see my garden. And birds, and it just makes me happy. Because when I washed my hands, that's right where I looked. Okay, gonna put in the broth. This won't take that much. Yeah, it sure won't. Because I filled that jar pretty full. This may be awfully lengthy for you all, so if you already know how to can, hop off when you need to. And if you're new to canning, there are videos that are like step by step by step. That's pretty much what this is today. So it's going to be a longer video than I normally have. When I do my canning videos, they kind of can be longer. Just because I just want to explain to people why I'm doing what I'm doing, or what I just did, you know, so they'll understand it. I'm going to have enough broth left that I am going to freeze it. I was thinking, well, you could, the amount of jars you've got, you probably could can a jar, but I think I'm going to freeze it. Okay, let's do our debubbling and see if we got any more of this good broth I made to add. I did pack these good, but up comes the air bubbles. So I got a little bit more room there. I packed this one good that I said was probably going to be a meal for me some night. That's going to be just perfect, isn't it? Really, look at that. That's just perfect for one person. I mean, canning meals in a jar, which is what this is, when you use this, you do this, it's a game changer for you in some ways. Now, I've only used it starting last year. I've never done it before. And my canned chicken makes the best. I'm going to freeze this. It makes the best chicken. I just love it. And I'm bragging on it, I know. Gotta find my dish rag. There it is. It makes the best chicken salad. I put that recipe up and I've made it twice. No, maybe one more time since that. I think it's one more time. Okay, now let me get my vinegar water. I got it all ready. And I'm going to use paper towel. You can use a clean dishcloth. And this is just distilled vinegar. And I'm going to wipe these rims. And these jars are just warm. And that's because of the broth. You don't want any vinegar down in that. You don't need that. I don't know. Some people use different kinds of recipes, but I don't want any vinegar in any of this stuff. All right, there's that. I'll just set this. What I do with this leftover vinegar is I just put it in my canning water because I've already added 2 tablespoons to that canning water because I had hard water here. So what I'm trying to do is, I don't want to burn my fingers. What I'm trying to do is keep any, I don't want the hard water sediments. Now these are just warm lids. I just center them. To get back to my point, the hard water can plug up the spout. I'll show you the lid and the spout, and it could plug that if you didn't. And I hold it up and I look and see if I can see light through it, and that lets me know it's safe. It can let off steam safely. All right, there's that. So we're gonna have 5 quarts and a pint. That's great. That's just great. And I'll put that there. Let me get these. And I'm going to put these on finger tight. Let me show you. Finger tight means, Finger tight means that you just tighten it like that. You don't do that. Because if you do, your lids can buckle. And I had a lid buckle last year. I guess I put too much muscle in it that day. So I'm going to get these in the canner. And I'll bring you back when it starts steaming and I'll show you some of the gadgets, okay? Okay, I wanted to show this to you. Right here is a vent. And once this comes to pressure, and this shows me whether or not it's pressure. Do you see on the gauge where it says 10? I go up to the next mark, which is 11, and I pressure cook at 11 pounds. That's 11 pounds of pressure. It's more if you're at different altitudes. And this gauge, once this is, I'll show you here. Once I have this thing placed on top of this, which doesn't happen until this is spewing steam, and I mean a straight thing of steam will come out of this. Once it gets boiling in there, that's what happens. It releases the steam through that. Then you put that on, and that stays on the entire time, and that's what allows this to come up to pressure. Like I said, there's better explanations than mine, but that's it. Now, here on mine, this is a Presto cooker. On mine, this shows that I have it where I've got it locked because this arrow will line up to a marking. This arrow will line up to a marking right here. And that's when you then turn it and close it. So it's 11:14. 11:14. And when this starts steaming, I will put that gauge, the pressure top on. It's not a gauge. I'll put that on. It's a doohickey. That's what it is. And I'll put that on, and that will allow this to build up the pressure, and then I'll pressure can it for 90 minutes. Now, I do have a pint jar in there that really only requires 75. The extra 15 is not going to harm that. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay, I have a steady stream of the steam coming out, so what I'm going to do now is count 10 minutes. So it's 11:38. So at 11:48, I will put this lid on top of that. And then it'll start building pressure, and then I have to maintain the temperature and watch it to make sure it stays at 10 to 11. If it goes below that, you have to start all over again with the counting process. So timing process. So with my particular stove, it's a ceramic top. I'm really careful with it because of the fact it is a ceramic top. You see this? This is a valve that lets off pressure too, and it'll just bubble, bubble, bubble. And then once you've capped this, that will eventually pop up, and that's normal for this valve right here to pop up, and it'll just maintain, it'll stay upright through that whole process. And once it starts cooling down, once your 90 minutes is up, that will go back down again. You see how the hard water has stained everything? So that's why I use the vinegar. I probably need to clean this outside really good with the vinegar water before my canning season really gets on full-fledged. So 10 minutes, so it'll be 11:48, and I'm gonna cap it, and then we'll come up to pressure, and I'll show you all how this is going. Hi everyone, I'm back, and I've got my jars out. 2 have sealed already. Earlier in the video, I was talking about how jars can siphon, and that means some of it came out, some of the product on the inside, it's the liquid, came out in the canning process, and that's usually if you filled them too full, which I didn't. You know, I showed you all how you go just to the bottom, the very first at the bottom, like right here. You go right there when you fill it up. I did that. However, I still had siphoning, and I started being able to smell something cooking that smelled real good. So I took it out, and I found out it's the jar in the back. Let me show you what it looks like on the top. See that discoloration? That's not normal. I don't know why it did it. It's good, a good jar. There's no like cracks or chips in the jar. I don't know. I mean, some things I can't really explain, and probably people who've been canning for 50 years can't really explain it. So I've got, we'll see if it seals or not, because there was, you know, that chicken broth that had some fat in it. Even though I'd skimmed it, it still had some fat. So if it doesn't seal, then that means I'll put it in the fridge when it cools, and we'll go ahead and we'll have it for a meal. I want you to see, now chicken, see that those lines? Chicken does that. It just makes this stuff right here, it just makes that happen. I wanted you all to see that it's still, you can see that, still boiling on the inside. Now, that has been turned off now for 50 minutes. And I move my canner off of the burner instead of letting it just sit there too. I let it sit there for about 5 minutes, and then I scoot it over, and I'm lifting somewhat because I don't want to scratch the ceramic top. So everything looks really good. I'll be anxious to taste it. I do hope that one seals, because I've got another meal that's ready for tonight, or going to be ready soon. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it is lengthy, but I tried to give you some good tips and show you a little bit of every single step. So I'll have these recipes down in the box, and you just click on more, and you'll find it there in the description box. So you all have a wonderful evening, and I'm gonna go eat my lunch. Have a good day.